as requisite qualities. Common sense, too, that a lady's maid must be neat in her person, and that she should speak pleasantly and quietly, and be able to read and write well. And though at first I liked the title and the line from which it came, a lady's maid is the private shadow of her mistress, the bit that came after, she is seldom seen or heard, bothered me. A private shadow that was seldom seen or heard sounded more like a ghost than a maid. I travelled up to London by train for my interview at the Empress Club on Dover Street. It was, I'd learned from Mrs. B., generally regarded as the most prestigious and luxurious of all the ladies' clubs in London. She had reminded me about my diaphragm, to stand up straight, look the person in the eye, and breathe when I spoke, in and out, and in and out. And she had also told me to make sure not to lapse back into a London F, but she was exaggerating. I'd never had a London F, though Stanley did, and he got irritated whenever I pointed it out to him. Stanley, I'd say, pressing my tongue to my teeth as Mrs. B. had taught me. It's think, not fink. Lady Ottoline took only a moment to appear in the lobby once she was summoned. Smiling, she extended her hand. Ottoline Campbell. Pearl Gibson, your ladyship. I wasn't altogether sure of the correct etiquette, but I offered a slight curtsy. It seemed the right thing to do on introduction to a lady, and she appeared to appreciate the gesture, for her smile softened, and she said to me, "What a very pretty hat." When I told her I'd made each one of the silk cherries myself, Lady Ottoline clasped her hands and opened her eyes wider. "Ah, so you're rather clever with the needle. That is reassuring to know." She was a tall woman, and handsome, with fine pale skin and heavily lidded almond-shaped brown eyes. Her dark hair was only just beginning to fade at the temples, and she had the distracted air, a glance over my shoulder, a stifled yawn, of someone slightly bored by life. "Please, come this way," she said. I followed the sweet scent of gardenia through a long lounge where a band was playing and footmen carrying tea trays moved hither and thither. And noting her ladyship's exemplary deportment, her long neck, her back as straight as Lord Nelson's column, I extended my own self farther as we entered another room, not quite so palatial. The rustle of silk chiffon came to a stop. "Do take a seat, Miss Gibson." A number of women were scattered about the room, quietly reading or writing letters, and a low murmuring from the far side led my gaze to another girl like me being interviewed by a silver-haired woman wearing a pince-nez and bearing no resemblance to Lady Ottoline. The girl and I exchanged a quick glance, and I knew what she was thinking. "You got the nice one." "So, you've come from Bournemouth?" "Yes, your ladyship, but I was actually born in London." "Ah, you weren't a maybe's girl, were you?" I knew this term, and I knew it didn't stand for mind and behave yourself, as some of the girls I'd worked with said. The abbreviation stood for the Metropolitan Association for Befriending Young Servants, an organisation set up to train girls from workhouses in order to discourage them from becoming prostitutes or alcoholics and turn them into good servants. "No, I wasn't," I said, sitting up straighter in the large leather chair. "I went into service directly after school, your ladyship." Lady Ottoline's smile faded, and she lowered her eyes, and for a moment I thought she appeared disappointed. But then she went on, asking me about my experience to date, and I told her how I'd started out in Kent and had worked my way up. She asked me for my letters of character, and I handed them to her one by one, saving the best until last. "Gracious," she said, raising her eyes from Mrs. B.'s elaborate hand. "I don't believe I've ever read such an effusive letter of recommendation." Mrs. B. had kindly allowed me to read through her first draft of the letter, and to assist her with the penning of a second. I suggested only 3 changes, replacing the word excellent with exemplary, valued with treasured, and regret with grief. Lady Ottoline folded the page and handed it back to me. She inquired about my personal circumstances.